Hey everybody, welcome to Chatting with Chops, or welcome back. Today we are going to make some cowboy cookies, and so let's get started. Alright, to start our cookies today, we're going to start with a half a cup of butter. I'm going to get our stove on kind of a between low and medium. And we are going to melt this. It should take maybe about 3 to 5 minutes, so we're just going to melt this on the stove top, and this is called making brown butter. Okay, so now that we've got our butter pretty much melted, now we're looking for it to kind of start bubbling and cooking. And once it starts bubbling a little bit, we're gonna cook it for an additional like 3 to 5 minutes. And basically what we're looking for is to actually brown. That's why they call it brown butter. So right now we're looking for it to start to bubble, and then we'll cook it for 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, we've officially got bubbling. So we're gonna start the clock and see if it takes our full 3 to 5 minutes for it to get a nice golden brown color. That's what we're looking for. I will tell y'all a little hint too. The recipe says that you're looking for the butter underneath is golden brown, and I didn't quite understand what the recipe meant, but see how I'm getting this nice little like top foam almost, this white top foam? So I'm kind of, stirring to see the butter underneath, so that's what it means. All right, we're at 2 minutes now, and I'm not seeing any browning yet that looks browning to me, so I'm gonna keep going. Okay, that was 5 minutes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer this to a heat-proof bowl. And then we're going to stir it a couple more times now that, oh, look at that beautiful brown. We're going to stir this a couple more times now that it's in the bowl. And it says that's just trying to dissipate a lot of the heat to kind of stop the browning process. So now what we want to do is we're just going to leave this sitting here for 30 minutes just to get it room temperature, because my recipe does have eggs in it and we don't want to cook the eggs when we put our hot brown butter in there, so we need it to be at room temperature. So I'm just going to leave this here to cool down, and we're going to start making our cookies. The first thing we want to do is we want to take our brown butter that we just did, and this was half a cup of regular salted butter. I'm just going to pour that in. I'm going to get all that goodness in the bottom. And then I want to take the softened butter that's been sitting on the counter, and I'm here in Georgia, so this is not difficult to soften butter here. And this is another half a cup of butter. I'm going to put that in my bowl. And then I'm going to take my brown sugar, and I have 1 cup of brown sugar. And then I have my granulated sugar, which I have a half a cup of granulated sugar. And then we're going to mix this up really good on about medium speed for about 2 or 3 minutes. So let's get our timer. All right, I want to take a swirl real quick because I already see there's a little bit of stuff that's gotten caught on my beater. So the next thing we want to do is start adding our eggs. We have 2 eggs, and I am going to crack them in a separate bowl. You can crack them straight into your batter if you want to, but I've just had too many mishaps that way, so. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. You can use vanilla extract if you want to, or you can use vanilla bean paste, or you can use vanilla powder. Whichever you enjoy and appreciate. And I prefer vanilla bean paste, but it is a little bit more expensive, so I understand not using it. All right, we're gonna scrape down the sides again. All right, now what we want to do in another bowl is we want to whisk together our flour, which I have 2 cups of flour in my bowl already that I have sifted. And then we want to take our baking soda, which we have 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And we have a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is just stir that in. We don't want all our cinnamon in one spot, or our baking soda. All right. The recipe says to incorporate this in 3 parts. So I'm going to put, let's see. I'm going to pour in what I think is about 1/3. Yes, again, I know I'm a messy cook. And then we're going to incorporate that. Okay. Another 1/3. Okay. And our last 1/3. And now I want to scrape down the sides again. We don't want any of that mixture lost on the sides of our bowl or stuck on the bottom. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start adding our beautiful ingredients that make these cowboy cookies. All right, so we want to add in our oats first. So we have 1½ cup of old-fashioned oats. And then we're going to add in our pecans, and we have 1 cup of chopped pecans, not too finely chopped, but a little bit. The next thing we want to add is our coconut flakes, so we have 1 cup of coconut. Until our batter is getting much thicker. All right, at this point, I want to take and do a good stir again. My batter is getting really thick. And then the last thing that we want to add is our 2 cups of chocolate chips. And I've decided to deviate from the recipe. It says 2 cups of chocolate chips. It doesn't say what kind. So I'm going to be a little bit experimental. Don't mind the brand. I am not sponsored. I'm going to take some of these little mini sweet chocolates. And since it needs 2 cups, I'm going to do a cup of each. So see, I've got the little minis. Okay. So I'm going to do a cup of these. Just pour that, give that a good stir. Okay, and now what I want to do is I'm going to take some of these Hershey Darks. Again, not sponsored, but I'm going to take some of the dark chocolate. Not everybody is as fond of dark chocolate as I am, so I'm going to use a cup of these as well. If I were making these cookies for myself, I probably would have just used full-on 2 cups of the dark. But you know, I am making these for other people. All right, there is a cup of the dark. All right. Oh, don't come out of the bowl. There we go. All right, so then we want to get this off of our beater real quick. Okay, actually, we're going to veer from the recipe a little bit. And I try not to do that the first time I'm ever making anything. But, you know, you only live once. Okay, so it is about to be the 4th of July, and I am taking these cookies to a 4th of July party. So we're going to attempt to split our dough in half and do some food coloring on them. All right, so let's see if I can even get this like halfway out of here. Use my big spoon. My mixer was struggling a little bit with this dough, but I'm thinking maybe if it's only half of it at a time, maybe it won't struggle so much. I don't know. We'll try it. Okay, now what we want to do is I have my blue, I have royal blue, and I don't know if you all can see that, but it's a Maricolor. Again, I am not sponsored, but they come in these little cool kits, a Maricolor, and it's a soft gel paste food coloring. These are great to use when you're making macarons, and they are peanut, tree nut, and gluten-free. I'm gonna start out with just doing a drop or two. Usually I'm using these on sugar cookies that just don't have a whole lot of color on them on their own. This definitely has some color, so I'm not even sure if this is gonna work. Again, we're experimenting. So we're gonna do a drop. Oop, that was 3 drops. Okay, let's try that and see what happens. And that's the blue. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. I told you, you don't need much of this food coloring. All right, let me give it a stir, and then we're gonna mix around again. Now we're gonna try the red. I'm gonna put the rest of this batter back in. And we're going to use our super red. I'm only gonna put 2 drops in this time. I don't want it to look Christmassy. There's 2 drops of that one. Oh my God. Okay, this food coloring, a little goes a long way, like a long way. You see there's still some all over the bowl. So definitely thinking I only needed 1 drop. But everything is mixed in good now, so we're gonna start forming our cookies. I did want to take a special side note for the consideration that there are those of you out there that are allergic to I believe it's red dye number 3, or you've seen recent legislation where they are going to be taking it out of foods as of, I believe it's 2027. If you do have those allergies or those concerns, please leave it out. Don't feel like you're obligated to, or there are other, most likely, I have not found one yet that I am going to start using, but there are other dyes that you can use other than the red that does hold the red dye number 3. All right, so I'm just gonna take little small scoops. Look there, I've already got some on me. I told you I should have named my channel The Messy Cook. I'm just taking little small scoops. You can make these cookies as big as you would like to. And then I'm going to be cautious as to how close I get them. The recipe says to use a 2 tablespoon cookie scoop and drop them about 2 inches apart. Because mine are a lot smaller, I'm not separating them as much. I mean, that's probably about 2 inches. But I'm gonna cook this first batch and see how far they spread out. And then that'll kind of tell me how far to spread the remaining cookie sheets out. But yep, I'm just trying to kind of get them in little balls. Trying to get them as even, same size as possible so that they'll cook evenly. And we have preheated our oven to about 350 degrees. And so we're gonna cook these for about 12 to 14 minutes until they're nice and golden brown and have kind of a dry appearance. All right, let's see how they're looking. We cooked them for 12 minutes. Let's see. Well, they're still pretty soft. I think I'm going to give them the 2 additional minutes just to make sure we're cooked all the way. Okay, let's see how they look now. We gave them the additional 2 minutes, so we cooked them the full 14 minutes. Oh yeah, I can already tell. Those look much better. Okay. All right, there we go. So we have our first batch, and I'm just gonna let them sit here on the cookie sheet for about 2 more minutes, and just let them cool on the cookie sheet, and then we'll move them to the cooling rack. So we left them for 2 minutes, so let's see if we can get them off the cookie sheet. Ooh, that's a little dark. All right. They still feel a little soft to me though, so that's good. So we're just gonna put them on our cooling rack and just keep going and see how many cookies we end up with. Again, I don't think I'm making these the same size as the recipe recommends. I usually like to make my cookies a little smaller, but we'll see how we go. Here you have it. Here are all the beautiful 4th of July cookies that I made. I will say that my blue turned into kind of a greenish color, so we have a little bit of a Christmas theme going here, but was more meant to be 4th of July themed. But let's see how they taste. All right, here you go. So it's not as appetizing as I would like it to be looking. Let's see, here's the red one. And you can see the beautiful coconut and oats and the pecans. And then we have the dark chocolate and then the little mini chocolates in there. So let's see how they taste. All right, let's see. Nice and ooey gooey. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. I just love all those flavors together. You have the nice little thickness of the oats and the chewiness of the coconut and then the wonderful chocolate mixed in there. Oh, they're fantastic. Hey, I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next bake.